So there's obviously been a lot of talk about these kids that are possibly missing down in Maui. Hundreds of kids. I mean, I want everyone to keep in mind that these weren't rumors. This wasn't random information that was being spread by random people online. No. I know it's been a while. I think it's been over like 53 days now. We're going on 2 months. But if you go back and look at news coverage from the day after, a couple of days after, a week after the fires down in Lahaina, every news outlet was reporting about the hundreds of kids who were missing or either dead in this fire. All of the people who lived there were heartbroken, talking about how they just know that, half of the people who died in the fire were most likely kids who were home by themselves that day because school was out. So I know that as we get further away from when this event actually took place, information gets misconstrued and it gets really foggy. But I want everyone to remember that these are not internet talking points from your favorite YouTuber. These aren't talking points from the big Twitter account that you follow for news. No. This was mainstream information since day one that everyone has pretended to up and forget about as we watch the death toll not rise but drop. And all of a sudden, all of these thousands of people that were missing are no longer missing, even though there's no evidence of them being located. And there's still like over 1,500 kids missing from the public school system that are unaccounted for. There's so many questions, right? And a lot of people think that something weird happened with these kids. And I'm not here to tell you that it did, but I can't tell you that it didn't. I can't tell you that it didn't. I wish I could confidently sit here on this video and tell you all of these kids are safe, all of these kids were found, but I can't tell you that. In fact, it's kind of just the opposite. Not only do we have no answers about these kids, but when officials are questioned about these kids, they act really weird. Really, really weird. Now, I know there's a lot of things spreading online, and I've heard about this well before the Lahaina fires, about these tunnels underground in Hawaii. I was hearing rumblings that I believe it was Mark Zuckerberg was building these tunnels, in his property in Hawaii. So I've heard a lot of rumors and stuff about that. I can't sit here and verify for a fact that some of that stuff is true. But during a recent meeting, someone was talking to the city council, and he talked about how there was a 8-foot wide tunnel from Front Street that he was saying could have been used to evacuate people. Now, I don't know how true this is. I looked into it a little bit and I couldn't necessarily find this tunnel, so maybe it doesn't even exist. But there was no pushback from the council members at this hearing when the guy was talking about the tunnel, which leads me to believe that he's telling the truth. But he was basically complaining that the tunnel was not used to evacuate people that day. And I guess you could say, yeah, well, why didn't they use the tunnel to evacuate people? But as soon as I heard about the tunnel, I started thinking about all of these kids who just, either they vanished off the face of the earth, I don't know what's going on with them. And I'm wondering, could something like tunnels have been used to take these kids away? And I know that sounds far out there for some people, but we live in a world where crazier things happen every day. Women, children, even men at this point, they're getting snatched up all the time. So when I hear about this underground tunnel and locals in the area are complaining they didn't use it to evacuate them, I'm wondering, was that tunnel put to use for other reasons? But before I go too far off the deep end, let me play this clip so you can hear what I'm talking about. Then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
First of all, you guys need acting lessons, because you smirking while she's talking is as she's talking about how we need to get rid of Peter Martin. I see smirks across that table. And you want to talk about water. I know for a fact the water in Hanakauai is being illegally diverted to the hotels. They renewed the lease that was not their right to renew. So that's being illegally diverted, and I'm sure it's happening on the rest of Lahaina. You want to talk about evacuation routes? How about the 8-foot wide tunnel the county put in on Lahaina Luna? From Lahaina Luna down to Front Street, that every family could have evacuated through. But no, nobody knew about that, did they? Brand new fiber optics, brand new water pipes. Do I need to go make a video of that? I'll do that next. And the governor, Josh Green, all he does is lie through his teeth. He sits here and tells us no tourists until October 8th. I find tourists the very next day in the Papakia. What are they doing in Hanakauai? Why am I kicking out tourists out of our camp every single day, stealing our supplies? Coming up to me asking for Dramamine for their cruise so that they don't have to buy it at the store. Taking our toilet paper, taking our water. Why am I kicking out undercover feds, FEMA, Air Force, whatever the fuck they are, coming in, acting like they're volunteers, trying to spy on me and John? So everything the governor's doing is the opposite of what he tells the public. So if he's covering up every action, to me that seems like these theories that Josh Green, Joe Biden, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, all of this is too obvious. The smart city plan was shut down. And so now he puts an emergency proclamation taking away all zoning and rebuilding codes so that he can do whatever he wants. And I need everybody out of Lahaina. We need a third-party investigation, one that the governor does not have any control over, or Joe Biden. Look, let Trump do it. Let me do it. But there's so much corruption in Hawaii's government.
4 minutes.
I don't care.
You can wrap up, and I'm going to have to ask you to stop swearing, okay? This is a public meeting, and we cannot have that language. But I appreciate the passion, but we cannot be swearing. But you can continue, and I'll give you another 30 seconds.
The only way Lahaina is going to get rebuilt for the people is by taking down Josh Green.
Notice how he was talking about the water and how they shut off the water, and water is being taken from certain communities and pumped into these big resorts and hotels and you name it? Isn't it funny that that's all going on around the same time that the World Economic Forum is out here talking about a water crisis? Depending on where you live, you're already involved in this water crisis. But the crazy part is, if you really pay attention to things, you see that there's really no crisis. If there was a crisis, surely pumping all of this water into resorts in Hawaii wouldn't be that important, would it? But this is the same thing with the water crisis, with the beer bug lockdowns, with climate change. It's the rules for thee, not for me crowd. As you lock down in your house and you can't go anywhere and hang out with your friends, we're going to go get our hair done. We're going to go have little luxury parties. We're going to fly around the world. We're going to live how we want to live. As all of you all change your lives because of climate change, you give up your cars, you stop traveling. You have to live in a city that you'd never really get out of. You have to stop eating steak. You have to eat bugs. You have to live in a smaller home. You can't own anything anymore. As they want you living like that, they're flying around in private jets, going to private islands, eating the finest steaks while they want you to eat bugs, living in mansions on the coast while they're trying to convince you that the coast is going to be gone because climate change is going to raise the sea level to the point that there is no more Florida and Miami and there is no more California. Meanwhile, all of the rich people are all flooding to the coastline. They're buying up property in Miami. They're buying up property in Florida while complaining about politics in Florida. They're down in Hawaii buying beachfront property while telling you, hey, the climate change is going to wipe all this stuff out. They don't believe it, obviously. Water crisis is the same thing. It's the same thing, and people will fall for it again. Mark my words. But as far as the tunnel goes, I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to say too much because there's things that I still need to verify. But if he's telling the truth, that's really weird and that's kind of creepy. And I don't know. It's kind of like at this point when you're almost 2 months away from the fire and everyone else seems to have forgotten about it, I'm trying to keep my gas on the pedal as much as possible because I do feel like we're starting to get somewhere just a little bit. We just had a state rep, basically, a Hawaii state representative basically came out and was like, hey, the numbers aren't adding up. I know there's over 1,000 people dead. So we're getting somewhere very slowly. But at the same time, there's not, how can I put it? There's information out there, but there's a lot of information that's hard to 100% verify. And then you have, how the internet works, people spreading misinformation and whatnot. But you got to be careful because you don't want to get caught up in their little games because they will purposely put fake information out here to get you off their trail and to make you look crazy when you're really just trying to get down to the truth. But this is what is being said. So you all take that information and you come to your own conclusion. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, though. As you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.